My name's Dave. I'm a coach, a mentor, and a speaker. And this is my friend Linda, who is, well, what are you? You're a coach, you're a mentor, you're a speaker, you're a trainer. Go on, tell us what you do.
Well,
Everything.
that's it, really, Dave. You've kind of summed it up there. Um, we both do similar things, but just from a slightly different perspective. I also run a group called Pain into Power, which is really about helping people move from some kind of pain, physical, emotional, or spiritual, and into a place of power.
Spot the level of professionalism there. She's far more professional than me. Somebody asked me recently, how do you define coaching? I went, I have conversations with amazing people and great things happen. I
I
can't say.
love that,
I
Dave.
don't. I don't know what those great things are going to be, but everyone's amazing. Anyway, we're going to do a quick bit of content because it was something I was just talking about a moment ago. Recently, was I saw on one of the forums that I'm in that somebody was. I suppose I'm going to use the word moaning, and maybe it's not the right word, but it'll go. They were commenting. They were placing their opinion on something and suggesting that a course which cost £500 was too much money, and in order to meet the requirements of that course, the professional body should actually turn around and pay for it for them. And I'm amused by people, and having done a master's degree in the past, having spent a lot of time working towards that myself, having done a degree and worked towards that, I'm kind of big on people taking their own responsibility for their learning. And one of the things which jumped out for me was, well, it's that expectation that somebody's going to go and get the information and give it to you. But most of the time when people give you the information, you don't do anything with it. It doesn't have the value. And you were, just before I stopped you, we were talking to this just before we started recording, and I was like, whoa, Linda, calm down. Let's calm down, love. Let's record this. And you were just about to say something really cool. And I'd love you to share that with people watching this.
Sure. Well, the other thing I do actually is that I'm a trainer for Tony Robbins.
Never
So you
heard of
know
him.
Tony
Never
Robbins.
heard. Who's Tony Robbins? Sorry, never heard of him.
So I kind of utilize a lot of things I've learned in that environment over the years. And one of the things that he always says that is really, really key to what Dave had raised in our conversation was that, there's a phrase that goes, knowledge is power, but it's not unless you do something with it. So it's knowledge with action is power, but knowledge in its own is just the collection of knowledge. And of course, what happens with people is people get a lot of significance because they think they have a lot of knowledge, but they're not doing that thing with them. And I think we have most of us have been guilty if we're interested in any kind of personal development. And I know I have been of having a lot of useful information
Shelf development is the phrase which I've heard.
but not doing something with it. And really what that course is and what often is doing is you're paying someone to do all the research for you. So it's like time versus money kind of thing is I'm paying someone else really that £500 who's gone and done all of the research, who's sifted through it, who's found the most useful parts of that. And that's a really time consuming process. And
Yeah.
has then presented it in a way that's consumable and actionable. And that's really what a course is a lot of the time. You're doing that transaction really.
Yeah, and it's interesting, coming from my background in healthcare, where there's a huge emphasis placed on CPD or continuous professional development. It's you have to have done this each year in order to be, or to maintain the quality that you had before. You have to do it to improve and iterate on it. And I get that improvement is absolutely fine. But my experience, what it tends to be used as is either a collection and a box ticking exercise. Oh, I've done my CPD this year, tick. Instead of going, I've actually learned something this year. This is how it's impacted my practice. And also because people are scared that if they don't do the CPD, then a professional body or organisation is going to come along and poke them with a sharp stick, and they're maybe naughty or bad or going to get in trouble if they don't do it. And for me, I was just writing down when you were talking, I think there's a formula here. If the old formula is knowledge equals power, maybe the new formula is knowledge plus action equals growth and transformation. And maybe there's a different spin on this, and it's actually spending the time not just gathering information because, well, information is wonderful and I feel powerful having information, says the man who has a shelf full of books, but actually asking yourself, that information which came to me, what did I learn from it and what can I now produce and put out into the world? There's a guy called Tiago Forte whose stuff I follow on the Second Brain, and at some point I'm going to do his course. It's just about knowledge management and just really excites me. Talk about courses again. Not going to do it just because I want to do his course. I do want to do it because it will improve things. But he talks about this idea that, you know, any information which comes in has to be useful in order to capture it. If you capture something, you have to then do something, create something with it, and then you have to put it out to the world. And there's a whole, we've talked about it before, and there's a whole kind of formula for it as well. And I find it fascinating. I find it absolutely fascinating.
Well, we're fascinated by similar things, but I don't know if you've come across in your world the Honey and Mumford learning styles.
Aren't they a band? Didn't they have children? All of them boys. You know the answer to the question is no, obviously, because I'm not as clever and learned as you. So
I used to teach I do teach a lot of stuff. So we're more familiar with visual, auditory, kinesthetic learning styles, which is really more a way of experiencing the world. But Honey and Mumford learning styles is more really about how we learn, and there's 4 different, you know, ways that we fit more into. And the first one is the activist. So the activist is the person that just wants to launch in. I'm just going to figure it out, and I'm going to be the first to volunteer and learn. You know, and that's definitely the person who's going to put something into action. But they might not even really need the knowledge. First of all, they might not read in the book because they just want to figure it out. They're the person that's going to put together the IKEA flat pack without even reading the dreadful instructions. So the second one, in no particular order, is the deflector. So the deflector is still an action person, but they're the one that wants to kind of stand back and like see how it's all going to fit out. Watch someone else do it first. They're not going to be the first one in there. They're going to think about it a little while, and then they might take that action. Pragmatist is the practical person, so they're definitely going to be an implementer of the knowledge as well, because that's what they like to do, is that they want to learn something and then put it into practice. So they're the one that actually goes home from the course and reads their notes and does something the next day. I'm actually teaching at the moment, and I was teaching a session on goal setting yesterday, and someone in the course has just emailed me with all of our goals kind of done and in place, and really excellent, and wants help with it. And I'm like, all right, well, she's the pragmatist, you know. There's definitely, and we've got a little bit of all of us. Now the last one, which is very relevant to this other side of what we're talking about, is the theorist. So the theorist is just like, I want the knowledge, you know, I want to understand how it works. Like, I'm not just going to watch my TV. I want to know why that actually is the way it is. You know, and the theorist, and the reason why it's useful is just about self-understanding and self-awareness of thinking about, you know, what is my natural inclination, or, you know, maybe different scenarios, like I'll react, like, because we all have a little bit of all of them. It just depends on what we're more likely to do. And often that activist is also the visual person. So with all this learning styles, it all, you know, fits in together. But understanding, you know, our way of natural learning and what we enjoy doing also helps with that. What do I want to do with knowledge? What's my aim when I'm gathering knowledge together?
Love that. I love that. It's more stuff for me to go and read and find knowledge and hopefully do something with. So I'm going to give whoever's watching this a bit of a call to action.
Well, you know, before you do that, Dave, I'm going to ask you a question. So, given those learning styles, what would you say you are most?
That's a really good question. I think it depends on the subject matter. For me, there are some things, and I've been known to annoy myself with this. If it's information which I don't think I need, I won't even bother spending time looking at it. But if it's something, we've all got these things where I'm really interested. For me, I'm interested in mindfulness and meditation. I love that. I'm interested in personal growth and development, but I'm also interested in science fiction and Netflix. So, you know, if I'm interested in it, I will dive more into it. I'm not necessarily somebody who will do the flat pack IKEA without the instructions. But I might use some of that activist energy at times. But I like to follow instructions, but only so I know I'm doing it right, because in the past I know that when I haven't followed instructions, it hasn't gone right. It causes me anxiety and frustration. So yeah, I can see that I would move between those four, depending on the subject matter and depending on the environment. And probably from a coaching perspective, I would probably use those different ones in a different way. So it might be how I would apply it to other people would be different to how I'd apply it to myself. If that makes sense.
And of course, it can help, because when we're understanding how we work ourselves, it's easier to understand, as long as we have empathy about how someone else is learning, because it might be different from us. I mean, I would say for you, you're very low on theorist. Your top two would definitely be pragmatist and activist, and I think probably pragmatist a little bit more strongly.
I'd go with that. Yeah. So cool, let's give people who are watching this a call to action. If you're still watching this, then two questions for you. One is the information which we've put out here, the knowledge which we've discussed between us. What are you going to do with that? Is there something which resonates with you? What are you going to do with that? Let us know in the comments below, above, depending on which social media platform it is. And also, if you wanted to have a conversation with each of us about, or any of us, or one of us, or even if you want to talk to someone who we know, we can introduce you about any of this, because it resonates with you and you go, actually, there's a conversation I would like to have. Then reach out to both of us. Linda, where can people find you?
Probably the easiest. I mean, I'm everywhere on social media, but probably Facebook is the easiest one. And then you can link in if you kind of want to learn more about really what all the different things I do. My Facebook group is on my Facebook, and actually I've got a lovely button there that you can just press, that was designed by the lovely Dave James, who one of his knowledge things that I take full advantage of is his abilities for tech and social media.
Who would have thought that I knew anything about those kind of things? That's brilliant. So get in touch with Linda if you want to have a chat with her. If you want to find me, I'm all over social media as well. But the probably easiest thing to do is go to my website, which is www.davethecoach.co.uk, and there's contact buttons on there. But you can also find me on Facebook or DM me through whatever platform this is on at the moment. So, Linda, that was awesome. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dave. It's been fun.